All right, welcome back, everybody. It is currently 9:03 Central Time on Wednesday, September 14th. Just me this week. I know y'all tune in for James, but I didn't ask James to be on the podcast this week. It's been kind of a hectic week for me. I'm going on vacation starting tomorrow, so Thursday. Thursday evening, I'll be working remotely on Friday, and then all of next week, I'll be at the beach. So, yeah, this has been a busy week for me, from being at work to doing laundry and packing and taking care of any other errands I got to do before I leave. Had a lot of stuff to do, so I didn't even bother asking James to be on the podcast because I knew our schedules probably wouldn't align. I was too busy, and he obviously is an hour ahead of me, and he's got stuff going on. So just me this week, and I will be recapping the weekend. I said I was going to do this last week as often as I could. I came up a little bit short. I want to do like 2 episodes a week, or maybe 3 episodes a week for football season, and like I said, I fell short. I've been busy. I apologize. But maybe next week I can get James back on the podcast because I'll be on vacation and I'll have plenty of time to get him on the phone. So anyway, weekend recap of football. I'll start in the NFL. Thursday night, Bills-Rams. That was a beatdown. I've never seen a team turn the ball over 4 times and win by 3 scores, and the Bills did that. They turned the ball over 4 times and won by 21 points. Never seen really anything like that. The Bills looked really good. Other than the turnovers, the Bills looked really good. That defensive front is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. They roll 8 to 10 guys deep. They're very deep at that position. They rotate them constantly. A lot of talent there. Barring injuries, that's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. And then offensively, Josh Allen was the fucking man, like he always is. I was really impressed with him. I mean, that felt like the start of a MVP tour for him, which James and I are pounding the table for right now, because we're huge Josh Allen fans, who we have been on since he came out of Wyoming, by the way. But he looked really good. There was a point in the game, I don't know what he finished with in terms of his stats, but there was a point in the game where his completions were like 21 of 24. And at that point, he had already thrown 2 interceptions. One was his fault. The other one wasn't. And I was like, he's 21 to 24. I texted James. I said, he's 21 to 24, 2 interceptions. 1 ball has hit the dirt so far. So just really impressive by him. Bills are going to be really good. As for the Rams, I'm not going to be too hard on the Rams. There are quite a few teams here that I'm not going to be too hard on, even though they didn't have great showings in week 1. The Rams, I think they're going to be okay going forward. Their offensive line's a bit of a mess right now. I kind of expected that after they lost Andrew Whitworth. I mean, Andrew Whitworth's going in the Hall of Fame. And the Rams, I mean, it worked for them with their Super Bowl win, but they've lacked the draft capital to really help replace him. So the offensive line took a hit without him, and they really struggled to protect Matthew Stafford in the game, evidenced by, I think the Bills sacked him 6 or 7 times in the game. Didn't run the ball that well either. But I think the Rams will get it together. They'll be at least better at that position later in the year. I'm pretty confident in that. That's a staple of the Shanahan coaching tree. You see it with Kyle Shanahan. You see it with Sean McVay. You see it with Matt LaFleur. Those guys always have really good offensive lines play if they're healthy. So I'm not too worried about the Rams, but not the best showing by them for sure. All right, so Sunday. I don't know if I'll do these one by one, but I might as well. Saints-Falcons. That was kind of what I expected. I thought Atlanta was going to give them a game. I said before the season, Atlanta's win total hovered around 4.5 the entire offseason. And the closer we got to the season, I just kept thinking, I think this team's going to win probably 5, maybe even 6 games. And that was kind of unpopular opinion, but I just don't think Arthur Smith is a bad coach. You can do a lot worse than Marcus Mariota as your quarterback too. I know the roster isn't great, but if you have a decent head coach, which I think they have, and a decent quarterback, which I also think they have, you're going to be in a position to win a lot of games. They didn't win. Obviously, they didn't beat the Saints, but they were ahead in that game. They were up, 26-10 going into the fourth quarter or in the fourth quarter. So I feel pretty good about that prediction I had for the Falcons. Saints, I expected y'all to win that game. So 49ers, Bears, this is another team that I said I'm not going to be too hard on. The 49ers, really bad showing. I was like, hammer the 49ers in this game. I thought the Bears were going to suck, so I got to eat some crow there. Bears, you proved me wrong for a week. I had the Bears winning, I think, 4 games, and that was certainly not one of them. So you're ahead of the curve right now. We'll see if that can continue through the rest of the year. But I'm tentative to say that the Bears are going to be better than people think now because the game was a monsoon. Both teams really struggled to move the ball, and I think Justin Fields played. I didn't watch the game. I'd heard he played horribly though. I think he only finished with like 8 completions. So 49ers, they'll get it right. I think circumstances in the game were tough, and then the Bears, that was at home, bad weather. I don't want to say they should have won. 49ers should have won that game, but at home, bad weather. That's a huge advantage for the home team. Steelers Bengals. One of the big, I don't know about surprises of the week, but I thought the Bengals would win. I thought the Steelers would keep it close there. Mike Tomlin's a terrific motivator, and yeah, he delivered. Bengals, didn't really watch. I'd heard at one point in the game that Joe Burrow had turned the ball over 3 or 4 times, so not great, but they still had a chance to win. So O-line still looks bad. I would be patient there. The Bengals spent a lot of money in free agency to improve their offensive line. At least 3 new starters. I think it was Karras, the guy from New England. I can't remember his name, and Lyle Collins. It takes a while for O-line chemistry to come together. So I wouldn't sell any stock on the Bengals right now. Eagles, Lions. Lions, man. Lions fight. Dan Campbell is a really good motivator. I think the Eagles were up 38-21 going into the fourth quarter, and the Lions battled, made it a 3-point game. From what James has said, again, because I didn't watch the game, from what James has said, though, the Eagles tackled very poorly, still won the game. So, Eagles, I expected you to win that game, and you did. Lions, I thought you would keep it close, and you did. So, kind of how I expected that game to play out, although obviously I didn't expect close to more than 70 points being scored. Dolphins, Patriots, just not a great start for the Patriots. We kind of knew that was coming because their offense looked really bad in the preseason. Miami, I expected y'all to win that game, and you did. Long season ahead, but I had them winning that game in the preseason, and they delivered, so I would say they're par for the course, and I think I had them winning 9 games. So, Dolphins, we'll know more about them this week when they go to play Baltimore. Speaking of Baltimore, actually, Baltimore and the Jets, Ravens took care of business, won by 15 points, I believe. Jets didn't have Zach Wilson, and I'm not sure it really would have mattered if they did because the Ravens are just that much better of a team. So that score doesn't really surprise me. Maybe the fact that it was 15 points and not more. But going on the road is tough in the NFL, and winning by 2+ scores on the road is tough in the NFL, regardless of who you're playing. So good for the Ravens. Jags, Commanders, this game, I'll admit, I went out on a limb. James and I both did. And picked the Jaguars to win, and the Commanders won. I realized that it was kind of a bold pick, but for whatever reason, the closer we got to that game, the more I thought the Jags were going to give them trouble. And the Jags did almost win the game. I think they were up 22-14 at one point. Maybe more than – no, I think it was 22-14. So, it was right there. Going into the fourth quarter for the Jags to win, and they didn't do it. Commanders – I expected you to win. Well, I didn't expect you to win, but Commanders, I'm going to keep saying it. I think they might be I don't know about the best team in the NFC East, but if we're, especially with the injury, and I'll get to the Cowboys here in a bit, with the injury to Dak Prescott, I think that division is going to come down to Philly and Washington. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington is leading the division or tied with Philly heading into week. I don't know if those two play in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season off the top of my head, but if they play each other going into week 16, 17, 18, there's a chance that game might be for the division title. So I'd keep an eye on the Commanders. Browns, Panthers. Browns pick up a big win. I didn't pick them to win. I was close, but I went with the Panthers. Browns pick up a big win. Any win that they can get without Deshaun Watson is huge. And their first 6 games of the year, I believe, are like the 6 easiest games for the whole NFL. So if they can get through this 6-game stretch, like at 4-2, 5-1, and then like maybe survive the other 5, be close to 500 by the time Deshaun Watson comes around, I think the Browns could be in a really good spot to surprise people and make the playoffs. I still think that's a really tall order. It's a long season to go, but Browns pick up a huge win. Panthers, tough break. I mean, I believe that game came down to a last-second field goal. And so Panthers had the game won. Browns only won by 2. So the Panthers had the lead late. Almost had the game won. And they didn't. Just Matt Rule, man. Hard to trust him. But team is fighting at least. Colts, Texans, week 1, we already got a tie. I will say this. Texans, I believe the spread by the time kickoff rolled around was 7. So Texans +7. I remember thinking that going into the game, I was like, man, that feels like easy money. And they delivered. They should have won. They were up 20-7, I think, in the fourth quarter. And the Colts battled back. So a tie, for one of these teams, a tie isn't that bad, and that's the Texans. Texans will take that, and I think the Texans should feel really good about where they're at right now. And Davis Mills didn't play all that bad. I think I looked today, he had a passer rating of close to 100. So if you're the Texans, I think you're in a pretty good spot right now. As for the Colts, this is a game you should have won. And you had to dig deep to come back in the game to tie and get it to overtime. And then I think there were some missed kicks. I know that the Colts released Rodrigo Blankenship this week, or put him on waivers, whatever. But Colts, that's a game you should win. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of losing faith in Frank Reich. Almost said Reichert. Frank Reich. I used to be really high on him, and I know he struggles in September, but yeah, I feel like his seat's getting hot. Giants, Titans, by far, maybe the most surprising result of week 1. I expected the Titans to win. I thought the Giants were still going to be the same old Giants, and they're not. These aren't the Joe Judge and the Pat Shurmurs and the Bid McAdoo Giants, it looks like. The Brian Daboll. They're the Brian Daboll Giants. No, look, I'm not going to look too much into this game. I don't think the Giants are some kind of sneaky good team. But the Titans, I had them regressing, and I think this game proved it. But Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. I think they'll bounce back and flirt with 500, maybe potentially win 10 games. Giants, I mean, that game kind of showed me a lot. Daniel Jones wasn't too bad. Obviously the defense held the Titans offense in check. Granted, I know the Titans are breaking in some new pass catchers. And then the most important thing is Saquon Barkley went back to his old form, it looked like, which is huge because he's battled so many injuries. Just big win for the Giants. The Giants organization really needed that, in my opinion. That's an organization that has really struggled the last, 5 years? It really hard times for the Giants, so they really needed that win. Then my game, Packers-Vikings. Vikings really took it to the Packers. And I'm not discouraged. I didn't think the Packers were going to win that game. The Vikings always play the Packers well at home. Packers were without Alan Lazard, David Bakhtiari, and Elton Jenkins. 2 All-Pros and then your number 1 receiver. So not great. When I saw that on the injury report, I was like, if all 3 are out, I don't see Green Bay winning this game. And that's exactly what happened. All 3 missed the game. Green Bay lost. The tone was kind of set in first Green Bay's offensive possession. Rodgers dropped back and threw deep and had Christian Watson open, who was their second-round pick this year, and he dropped it. Wide open, probably would still be running if he had caught it, but he dropped it. Vikings took it to him. They were the more physical team. Defensively, they look better, and I know Green Bay's offense is banged up. Like I said, missing 2 All-Pro offensive linemen, and then a third starter got hurt in the game. Not great for Green Bay, but Minnesota really feasted. Minnesota's front 7 looked a lot better. Just a beat down. Minnesota, I expected you to win, and you did, but that was impressive. I'm not going to lie. Chiefs-Cardinals, Patrick Mahomes is still really good. I didn't see that coming, but him and Josh Allen, I would say, are off to an MVP start. I think Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns. As for the Cardinals, it ain't going to get any easier. That was going to be a hard game already. No DeAndre Hopkins. O-line's not that great. Defense isn't that great. Cliff Kingsbury, not that great of a coach, in my opinion. That was a tough game already to win. You dropped to 0-1. I think they have Las Vegas this week, and you still got to play the rest of the AFC West and your division twice, which I don't know if you know. The Rams are pretty good. The 49ers are pretty good. And Seattle looked better than I anticipated. So, Arizona, dig deep. That's all I got to say. Raiders-Chargers. I kept seeing all the stat that Devontae Adams had more receiving yards than all of the Packers receivers combined against Minnesota. That was such a retarded, I'm sorry, but that was a retarded stat. What's your point? Both teams lost. Raiders lost, Packers lost. Just dumb. I understand pointing that out, but I kept seeing it over and over and over. It was just way overused in my opinion. Raiders. O-line looked bad. I think the Chargers sacked Carr 6 times. Really bad. Defensively, not much better. I still think the Raiders are a pretty damn good team, but they have some holes, and the way the schedule aligns this year, it's just really tough. You got to play your division, which is the toughest division in football. Then you got to play the NFC West, which is another tough division. Just a really bad draw, in my opinion, for the Raiders. Like I said, I still think they're a good team. I think they'll finish with a winning record. But tough draw on opening weekend, and then, just a tough schedule the rest of the way forward. Bucks-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Bucks really weren't that impressive, and they still kicked Dallas's ass. It was 19-3. Brady looked good. The offense really didn't. Julio Jones didn't look that bad either. Offensive line is depleted. I know they lost 2 or 3 starters in the interior and then maybe a key reserve in the interior. And then I know one of their offensive tackles got hurt in the game. Chris Godwin got hurt during the game. So just kind of depleted, which I understand why Tampa Bay struggled on offense. Dallas, really bad showing. And I would have said, let's not overreact. And then Dak Prescott gets hurt. It's panic time for Dallas. Let's call it what it is. I heard someone say it this week. Call it what it is. The season's over. And I'm not going to sit up here and smile. I could, though, because I hate Dallas. But I feel bad. I actually like Dak Prescott. I don't want to see him hurt. But he's going to miss probably half the season. And I had to break it to Dallas. You're not going anywhere without him. I don't think Mike McCarthy is the coach to lead y'all. I don't think Cooper Rush is the quarterback to lead y'all. So, tough break. But, sorry, Dallas. Season's over. And I'm kind of happy about it. Monday Night Football. Another big surprise over the weekend. Broncos Seahawks. Broncos, I I know the Broncos lost, and everyone's giving them shit. Even I was giving them some shit, and Russell Wilson some shit on Monday Night Football. But they had the game won. How many times did they have the ball on the 1 yard line and the running back fumbled? Like, that should have been, at a minimum, 6 points. Like, let's pretend that Seattle stuffs them twice, and maybe one time they go for it on 4th down. But let's pretend, at a minimum, Nathaniel Hackett, who loves to kick field goals, by the way, trots out the field goal kicker and gets 6 points. They win the game. So they had the game won. Turnovers killed them. They actually ran the ball well. I thought Russell Wilson looked pretty good. Seattle's defense actually played really well, and I'll give them some credit, but I'm talking about the Broncos right now. The decision, I got to say, I can't be too hard on Nathaniel Hackett. I wasn't paying attention. I was typing up something on my blog. The decision, though, to kick the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, kind of ridiculous. 64-yard field goal, like James said to me after it happened, if it was mile high, I wouldn't think anything of it because, the ball travels at mile high. But Seattle, no. That's a long field goal. You had time. Go for it. I mean, the odds of you making a 64-yard kick are slim. So even if you don't get it on 4th down, the game was over. So Seattle, though. Big props to Seattle. That was another team like the Bears that I was very hard on in the preseason. But it was great to see, as a fellow West Virginia Mountaineer, and I'll get to them later, as a fellow West Virginia Mountaineer, it was great to see Geno Smith play well. His numbers weren't that great, but he played well. Well, not great, but well. Seattle, though, they showed up, and I thought that was going to happen. Seahawks hung tough. Pete Carroll, like Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is a great motivator. So I had a feeling that place was going to be electric. It was. Carroll had that team motivated. All they heard all offseason was how much they suck without Russell Wilson. And then they got Russell Wilson coming to town. They had that game circled. I'm not that, surprised that they won or kept it close. I am surprised that they won. But I'm not shocked at all that they kept that game close. But are they really that much better than what I thought they would be? Probably not. We'll see how the rest of the year goes, though. So that's NFL Week 1. Let me switch to college football real quick. Go over some of the notable games. The most notable, though, is obviously Bama and Texas. Shoo! I mean, there was a moment in there where I was like, is Bama going to lose this game? The spread on this game seemed way too high. I mean, I don't know about way too high, really high. It was minus 20 at one point, and I just kept thinking, gosh, I don't know if that's going to happen. So Bama really struggled in the game. I don't think that's an indictment of Bama. I think Bama more likely just played down to Texas. I mean, anytime you go on the road, in non-conference especially, against a talented team like Texas, and you're a team like Bama, you're going to get their best shot. And that is something that is, I'm not sitting here really complaining about the way Bama has handled its scheduling the last decade or so, but they really haven't had to do this. They haven't had to go on the road in the non-conference and win. They've played all of their marquee non-conference games on a neutral site. And honestly, Atlanta, that might as well be a home game for Alabama. I played in Dallas a few times. Alabama travels well. I mean, it's a neutral site game. This was their first, I'm almost certain this was their first road non-conference game in 11 years. And when you do that, you're going to get the other team's best shot. And it's non-conference, so you're not really familiar with the other. It's one thing for Alabama to go to LSU and Auburn, where they know each other, and you can be a little bit more prepared, or what to expect. Going to Texas, you don't know what to expect. You don't play that team very often, although you will in a couple of years. But I'm not that surprised. Bama, I thought, played down. They had a lot of penalties. Their receivers, I think, struggled to catch the ball. They were very fortunate. I know, what's his name? Quentin Ewers got hurt during the game. Hudson Card got hurt during the game, so Texas was really hurting at the quarterback position, and that's probably why Bama escaped with a win. So, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think that score is an indictment of Bama at all. I think that's more of a credit to Texas more than anything. I think Bama's going to be just fine going forward. As for the other notable matchups, Marshall beat Notre Dame, it's always fun to see Notre Dame lose, which is odd because I have an Irish heritage and I hate Notre Dame with a passion. But Marshall beat Notre Dame. That was a very surprising result of this past weekend. I said before the preseason that I thought Marcus Freeman was a real promising up-and-comer in college football. But I will say, I feel like Notre Dame, and I don't blame them for it, I think Notre Dame hired him too soon. I remember when Brian Kelly left, I remember Luke Fickell's name being mentioned for that Notre Dame job, and I was always under the impression that it was going to be either Notre Dame hires Luke Fickell to be the coach, and he was probably going to accept and leave, and then Cincinnati was going to turn around and hire Freeman. And I don't know if y'all follow recruiting. Marcus Freeman is a terrific recruiter, and Notre Dame didn't want to lose him. So they decided to hire Freeman as head coach instead, which, again, I don't blame them. It just felt like a year or two too early, but it's not really their fault necessarily. Notre Dame drops to 0-2 when I had them going 9-3, and this isn't a great start for them. Quarterback, and I know their quarterback is already hurt, and I wasn't that sold on that position anyway for them. Notre Dame, I think, is going to struggle to win 8 or 9 games. I would say it's looking more like 7-5. I know they still have to play North Carolina at North Carolina. They got to go to Vegas to play BYU. They got to play Navy. I know Navy's not off to a great start this year, but you never know with Navy. I know they have Clemson. They still got Stanford. So there's some tough games coming up for Notre Dame. I would say the season's not done because you never know, but sure is looking like that. The other big game was Appalachian State beating Texas A&M in College Station. Obviously, very surprising. I don't know how much longer does A&M put up with this from Jimbo. And I'm not trying to make it seem like Jimbo should lose his job. I don't think he should. I think he's done a pretty good job there. But his best season came in 2020, and I'm sorry, you might as well just throw 2020 in the trash for all I'm concerned. But other than 2020, this is kind of not this specific result, because I don't think he's lost a game like that to a Group of 5 opponent at A&M. But his teams have typically been like 7-5, 8-4, maybe a 9-3 since he got there, and I'm just not sure A&M's going to put up with it. So A&M, you still got to play LSU, you still got to play Arkansas, you still got to play Bama, you got to play Auburn. I think you're looking at another 8-4 kind of season. Tennessee Pitt, that was a really good game. I hate to see that Pitt played well, almost won the game. You could argue should have won the game. But Tennessee was the better team. They were kind of out of sync offensively. I was worried there for a while that they weren't going to win, and I was really pulling for Tennessee to win that game because I hate Pitt. But good to see Pitt go down as a West Virginia fan. But yeah, wait, hang on, I pressed the wrong button. Pitt, I mean, I don't think Pitt's on the same level as Tennessee. I think Tennessee's a pretty dang good team. If it weren't for Georgia, I think Tennessee probably wins the SEC East this year. As for another surprising result, Washington State beats Wisconsin 17-14. I said going into that game that the spread of that game was like 17.5, and I kept thinking, I'm not sure Wisconsin can score 17 points, let alone cover the spread. So unless they're going to shut out Washington State, I don't know how that's going to happen. And I was right. Wisconsin scored 14 points. That's a big win for Washington State, who I said before the season might be better than people think. I thought Jake Dickert, who was the interim head coach last year, becomes the head coach this year, handled last year really well, took over a bad situation after the university decided to fire Nick Rolovich for his stance on vaccinations and not getting a vaccination, which, whatever, we're not going to talk about. But they hired him. I thought he handled it well. He took him to a bowl game, gets named the permanent head coach, and I thought he pulled together a really good or underrated transfer portal class, brought in a really underrated quarterback in Cam Ward, who was at Incarnate Word at the FCS level, had offers when he decided to transfer, had offers from a lot of really good FBS programs like Ole Miss. I think West Virginia was sniffing around him. He decided to go to Washington State because Washington State hires his offensive coordinator from Incarnate Word. So really underrated talent. Washington State, that was a big win, and I think they are a sneaky good team in the Pac-12 right now. Texas Tech beat Houston, which is very surprising because I thought Houston was going to win that game. Texas Tech was without a starting quarterback, I'm pretty sure, Tyler Show, who had a shoulder injury, I'm pretty sure, but Texas Tech still found a way to win in double overtime. I think that really hurts Houston. I thought Houston was going to be in a really good spot to represent the Group of Five in a New Year's Six bowl game. Losing to Texas Tech doesn't kill you. If they can go on and win out, I think they'll be okay. But I think they still got to play Memphis. They might play Cincinnati in the American Athletic Football Conference Championship. There's another team, UCF obviously is tough. They might have to play them. SMU, I know they got to play SMU. SMU, I think, is a pretty good team. So Houston, you're on thin ice right now. If you lose another game, I don't see how you're going to make the New Year's Six because I'm very high on BYU. BYU just got a big win over Baylor. And then they got Oregon this week. If they win that game, they're going to be sitting pretty. Then they got Notre Dame later. They got Stanford later. BYU is going to be in a really good spot. If they're already in a good spot, they'll be in a really good spot if they win this weekend at Oregon. Kentucky, Florida. I'm kind of surprised Kentucky won this game, especially by double digits. Kentucky, this is only the second time in 30-some years that they've won in the Swamp. But I'm really surprised. I thought Florida was going to win that game. With that said, I shouldn't be all that surprised because that game against Utah clearly meant so much to that new staff. They really wanted to get off to a strong start. You could tell. And that was an emotional win. Utah had the ball at the goal line. And Cam Rising just made a bad decision and threw an interception in the end zone. So an emotional win. Almost every single time there's an emotional win in college football, the team comes out, the team that wins that emotional game comes out flat the following week. And that was clear with Florida and Kentucky. Kentucky, though, really good program. Mark Stoops has done a great job there. They are going to be fighting, I think, with Tennessee for that second spot in the SEC East. What else we got? Baylor, BYU. That was my game of the week last week. BYU squeaked out a win. Oh, it went to double overtime. I didn't see that. I had the game on. I remember that. I had the game on and I fell asleep. And then I remember saying that BYU won. Big win for BYU. BYU was the team I picked to win, or not win, but represent the Group of Five at the New Year's Six bowl game. And this was going to be a tough test. Baylor, while it's still kind of shuffling some new pieces because they lost a lot of production from last year's team that won the Big 12 and won the Sugar Bowl, they're still really good in the trenches. So that was a really good test for BYU to see if they can hold up against these Power 5 teams in the trenches, and they did that in spades. So BYU, you're making me look good. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's kind of my recap. I have a drink here that I haven't even touched. So yeah, let's get to picks. Let me go back to the NFL here on my iPad. All right, week 2, Thursday night. Chargers Chiefs. Great start to Amazon carrying Thursday Night Football. Anytime with these short weeks, I almost always give the advantage to the home team. So short week of prep, just that typically doesn't favor the team that travels. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers managed to win this game, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Better head coach, better quarterback, home game, Thursday night, short week. Give me the Chiefs to get the win. Jets, Browns. I think they've already announced that Joe Flacco is going to be starting for the Jets again, so I'll go with the Browns. Spreads at 6.5. Home opener for the Browns. Rowdy fan base. I think they'll be excited. Give me the Browns. Commanders at the Lions. Lions are minus 1.5. This feels like a game Dan Campbell has to win. I'm not saying he hasn't done a really good job. He has. But as we've just seen with Scott. Oh, by the way, Scott Frost got fired. Not really surprising. Big week for the Sun Belt this past weekend. But like we saw with Scott Frost, you can only get by with, we're so close for so long. So the Lions, I think, got to get it done. Like, this is a game you have to win if you're Dan Campbell to prove to the organization that you're heading in the right direction, and I think they're going to do that. I think he's going to have the guys ready. So give me the Lions in that one. Bucks Saints. Everything about this game probably says go with the Bucks, but I'm not going to do it. New Orleans and Dennis Allen's defense have been the thorn in Tom Brady and Tampa Bay's side since he got there. They've played 5 times. New Orleans has won 4 of them. The only time the Bucks won was in the the playoffs in 2020. So, with the game in the Superdome, very tough place to play. Give me the Saints. Panthers Giants. Matt Rule is I think I wrote 6-11 on the road as a head coach in the NFL. I'm not sold that the Giants are that good, but home game for the Giants. I'll go with them to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers pulled it off. Patriots at Steelers. Patriots are minus 2. I went back and forth on this one all week. I think the Patriots are in really bad shape right now. Their offense is struggling, but I don't think Pittsburgh's that much better. And Pittsburgh's going to be without T.J. Watt for a few weeks. Mike Tomlin, can he motivate this team back-to-back weeks? And on top of that, the track record between Belichick and Tomlin favors Belichick. Belichick has won 7 out of 10 meetings between the two coaches. I'm not confident in this at all. I'm going to go with the Patriots. Colts, Jags. This is another one where I had to go to the track record. I believe I read that the Colts are, what did I write on my blog? They've really struggled in Jacksonville. I think they've lost, I think they're 3-9. I believe they're 3-9 in Jacksonville since 2010, and they've lost the last 7 meetings. So nothing really scientific here. I just think the Colts struggle in Jacksonville. It's September. It's hot. It's muggy in Jacksonville. Give me the Jags, but again, I'm not very confident in that. Dolphins, Ravens. Hang on, something came up on my phone, on my iPad. Let me go back. All right, Dolphins, Ravens. We're gonna find out how good the Dolphins are. But give me the Ravens. I think they're the better team. They have the better quarterback, better head coach. They're in a better spot in the trenches. At home, I feel really good about the Ravens in that game. Falcons at the Rams. Rams are minus 10.5. Don't be surprised if the Falcons find a way to make this competitive. But, the Rams really struggled on the offensive line last week, but the Falcons don't have a very good pass rush. The Rams also get more time to prepare. It's at home. Sean McVay has done very well when he has more time to prepare, and he has a very good record at home. This feels like a game the Rams should get back on track. Seahawks at the 49ers. I'm not falling for the Seahawks performance on Monday Night Football. I think this Seahawks team is still not very good. but better than I expected. 49ers are coming off a bad loss. I think Shanahan's going to have them ready to go. Give me the Niners. Bengals at Cowboys. This spread is Bengals minus 7.5 on the road. It's going to be really hard for the Cowboys to win this game without Dak Prescott, in my opinion. Bengals have the better quarterback, better roster, maybe better head coach. No Dak for the Cowboys hurts a lot. Give me the Bengals. This might be a blowout. Texans at the Broncos. Like the Falcons, don't be surprised if the Texans find a way to keep this game competitive. I thought the Broncos' defense wasn't that impressive last week. So I'm going to pick the Broncos to win, but I got a suspicion that the Texans might keep this game close. Cardinals at the Raiders. I don't really have many nice things to say about the Cardinals. They don't have DeAndre Hopkins. Go look at Kyler Murray without DeAndre Hopkins. His stats aren't very good. The game in Vegas, home opener. Raiders have the better quarterback. Maybe the better head coach. Just feels like a game the Raiders should win. My game, Bears at the Packers. Packers are minus 10 right now, Sunday Night Football. Like the Seahawks, I don't buy the Bears' performance for week one. I think the Bears are still a pretty bad team. They have also beaten the Packers 4 times, I think, since 2008, since Rodgers took over. Maybe 2010. 2010, 13, I can probably count on one hand. Since 2010, it's one hand. The amount of times the Bears have beaten the Packers since 2010. It's 3 or 4. I don't even think it's 5. It's 3 or 4 times. The Packers have owned the Bears in this rivalry since 2010, really since Rodgers took over as the quarterback. Packers look bad. I know the Packers look bad. It sounds like Lazard is going to play this week. I think Bakhtiari has a chance to play. I think Jenkins is going to have a chance to play. So if they're at full strength, I think the Packers could win easily. I think they have a lot of kinks to work out still offensively, but they should be better. They play well at Lambeau. I think the Packers, like the Rams, get back on track. Doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Titans at the Bills. Bills are minus 10. That's a big number for the spread of this game. I would hammer Titans plus 10 right now. Like I said earlier, I think Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. He's a physical. His teams are always physical. They lost a game they shouldn't have last week. I think he's going to have the Titans buttoned up. I think they're going to show up for the Bills. The Bills are the better team, though. I think they win, but I would hammer the Titans plus 7. I'm sorry, plus 10. Vikings at the Eagles. James probably isn't going to like me doing this, but I'm going to go with the Vikings. They looked sharp offensively last week. And I know Green Bay's defense really didn't play that well, but they look sharp. And I don't think Philadelphia's defense, which struggled against Detroit, is in a spot to defend the Vikings offense. So, again, not really confident in it, but I was really impressed with what I saw from the Vikings, so I'll pick them to win. So, yeah, that'll do it for NFL. Let me go to college real quick. And I haven't picked these. I got to go to my blog. I have not officially picked some of these games yet. I still got to type up something for them. But Friday, we're going to start with Friday night. Florida State at Louisville. Florida State is minus 2.5. Louisville's not in a great spot as a program right now. I think Mike Norvell's starting to get some momentum in Tallahassee. Jordan Travis is a good quarterback. Give me the Noles to win that game. Georgia at South Carolina. Spread is Georgia minus 24.5. That's big. That's a big number. I would maybe go South Carolina plus 24.5, but Georgia should win that game. They're the better team. Purdue at Syracuse. I'm a big fan of Jeff Brom. I think they have a really good passing attack with Aiden O'Connell. He's recruited well there. This is going to be a tougher game, I think, than people realize, but give me the Boilermakers to win that one. BYU at Oregon. Oregon right now is -3.5. I'm surprised of the spread of this game. Um, I'm not sure Oregon is that good. I know they're talented, but I don't trust Bo Nix. I'm kind of I don't know if this is going out on a limb because BYU is the higher ranked team, but they're not the favorite. So I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb here. I'm gonna keep riding with the Cougars. I haven't seen anything to make me change my mind with them. So give me BYU. Ole Miss at Georgia Tech. Right now, Ole Miss is -16.5. It's a big number. Georgia Tech didn't play all that bad against Clemson. They had them on the ropes a little bit. Might be a more competitive game than people realize, but Rebels should win this game pretty comfortably. Penn State at Auburn. This is one I have not picked yet. I'm still kind of on the fence. I really want to go with Auburn because I have a lot of friends that go to or went to Auburn or Auburn fans. I want to appease them. I also think the heat and humidity of Alabama could get to Penn State. You know, Penn State's a northern team. Going to Alabama might be tough for them. And Brian Harsin really needs to win this game. I feel like he's losing the fan base at Auburn. Really tough game. I think this is going to be a really close game, but I'm going to ride with Penn State. But I don't like doing that. Kansas at Houston. This is another tough one. I'm not sitting here. I know West Virginia just lost to Kansas, which, like I said, I'll get to in a bit. Kansas looked a lot better. That was the most impressed I've been with. And again, I know the bar has been low with Kansas, but that was the most impressed I've been with Kansas in a while. I'm not sure Houston is that good. They just lost to a, maybe average Texas Tech team. I'm not there yet with Kansas, but the spread right now is Houston -9.5. I think the Jayhawks can cover that spread. Like I said, I was really impressed with them last week. But I think Houston is the more talented team. They're in a better spot, I think, right now as a program. I'm not really that confident in it, but I'll go with the Cougars to win that game, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Jayhawks won. I need more time with Kansas before I hop on that train. Mississippi State at LSU. Right now it's Mississippi State -2 in the spread. I'm going to go with this is another one I haven't picked yet. Yeah, I'll go with LSU. I'm not confident in that pick either. But Tiger Stadium's a tough place to play. Brian Kelly didn't get off to the best start to the season, losing to Florida State in what was basically a home game in New Orleans. I don't want to say he needs this one, but I think he needs something to keep the fan base happy for now. So I'll go with LSU to win that one. Texas Tech at NC State. NC State -10.5. NC State didn't look great week 1, but they're still the better team. They should win this game. I don't think Texas Tech is really that good. So give me the Wolfpack. Michigan State at BYU. Michigan State at Washington. I'm shocked Michigan State is ranked 11th. I think they are way overrated. The spread of this game is pretty telling, in my opinion. I'm surprised Washington is favored. This is I think this is going to be a tough game. I think Washington is going to be a tougher out than people think. I think Kalen DeBoer is a really good offensive mind. I'm not sure Michigan State can keep up offensively. I'm going to take the upset here. Give me the Huskies. Again, not really that confident in it, but give me the Huskies. Another game I haven't picked yet. SMU at Maryland. I don't buy Mike Locksley as a head coach at Maryland. But I'm not bold enough to go with the upset here. although I really want to because I hate Maryland. But give me Maryland to win this game, but I think it's going to be a really close game. All right, game of the week. Miami at A&M. A&M minus 5.5 right now. I'm going to go with the Aggies to bounce back. They're a touchdown favorite in this game. Miami hasn't looked all that impressive. I mean, week one, they hammered Bethune-Cookman. Who cares? Last week, they were kind of lackadaisical against, was it Southern Miss? I don't remember. But I remember that game being somewhat close for a while, and then they pulled away late. Maybe they're looking ahead to this game. I don't know, but I just don't think right now Texas A&M is ranked 24th. Miami's 13th. I don't think Miami's that good right now. Or maybe they are. I think I do have them ranked that high in my power rankings. I think A&M is a lot better than 24th. Coming off a bad loss. Probably have the better head coach in Jimbo Fisher. Give me the Aggies to win that game. But yeah, that will do it for this week. Well, it won't do it for this week. I do want to touch up on West Virginia. So West Virginia lost to Kansas. I gotta embrace that. Really bad start for Neil Brown, who I thought had to win. I wouldn't say he was on the hot seat entering the year, but he was close. He had to win, I think, probably 7 games to keep his job for me, and he had to win at least 8 to convince me we're heading in the right direction. And he's 0-2 right now, and could easily be 2-0. Losing to Pitt, I can understand. Pitt's a good team. I mean, I don't think they're a great team, but they're a good team. They have really good personnel in the trenches, and they should have won that game against West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Losing to Kansas, though, I know I just spoke highly of Kansas. I think Lance Leipold's a good coach, but there is no reason to lose to Kansas at home in your home opener. In a game you were favored by 2 touchdowns. No reason. I have a very hard time imagining him keeping his job after this. I mean, I say that, but the schedule's really not horrible going forward. I mean, they play Towson this week. It's Virginia Tech the next week. It's at Texas, or it's at Virginia Tech. It's at Texas. After Towson, Texas is injured at quarterback. Virginia Tech lost to Old Dominion. Towson is an FCS opponent. Then it's a bye week. Then you get Baylor at home. So, and then I think it's on the road against Texas Tech, a team I don't think is that good. So, I don't think it's impossible that they win their next 5 or 6 games. But 0-2 with losses to Pitt, again, I can excuse, but not great. Then you lose to Kansas, also not great. Just this team reminds me of that 2012 team a little bit. Can score points offensively, can't get off the field, which is a shame because I thought we were going to be pretty good defensively. Right now, I think we're looking at a 4-win season, 5-win season, which means adios, Neil Brown, which I hate to say because I served as an intern for his staff when he first arrived, and I really thought that this staff was going to be special and that the program was going to, take off to a new level. And it's been going on 4 years of disappointment. It was a losing season in 2019, a winning season in 2020, but like I said earlier, I think you take 2020 and throw it out the window. Losing season last year at 6-7. I know you made a bowl game, but it was still a losing season. And then now you're at 0-2. Not great, Neil. Not great. I said it after the loss to Kansas. This is the lowest the program has been, I think, since the 70s. If he has another losing season this year, that is 3 losing seasons in 4 years. The last time, I'm almost certain the last time that has happened was the 70s with Frank Signetti, who unfortunately just passed. But not great, Neil. But let's go on to happier topics. I want to touch up on some TV shows. House of the Dragon. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. If you if you pay attention to my Twitter profile, I make that abundantly clear. I was hesitant with the Game of Thrones spinoff, and now I'm like, okay, this is really good. I want more. And I would expect HBO to deliver. They're working on a Jon Snow sequel, which I'm not thrilled about. But House of the Dragon, that is a really good show. I was hooked from episode 1. We're 4 episodes deep now. The next, I texted my brother today. I'm more excited because we're going to be at the beach by the time on Sunday. But I texted him. I said, I'm more excited for House of the Dragon than I am to watch Green Bay played Chicago on Sunday Night Football. You can call me a bad fan or, not really a real football fan, but it's the truth. I'm more excited for House of the Dragon. Just Millie Alcock kills the role as Rhaenyra. Big fan of her. My boy Matt Smith, who was so great in The Crown as Prince Philip, as a young Prince Philip. When they cast him, I was like, oh, this is perfect for Daemon Targaryen. And he is nailing that role. If he doesn't get some Emmy nominations next year, I'm going to riot. Then I want to touch up on Rings of Power. Episode 3, I thought finally got in the right direction. The first episode I thought stunk. Second episode was a little bit better. But the third episode, I thought it finally found its footing. I can see where they're going with the show. They revealed that Hallbrand is this kind of lost heir to the Southlands who can unite the Southlands against Sauron, who I think they revealed at the end of last episode, Adar, as they called them, which if it is Sauron, his name should be Anatar. I'm just saying. For those that don't know, that is from the Silmarillion. Sauron's first name was Anatar. So I'm assuming that that's who it is that we saw at the end of episode 2 or episode 3. And then the elves were taken into basically slavery by the orcs of the Southlands. And they were digging a tunnel. They say they were looking for something. I don't know what. But that is clearly setting up for them to be creating Mordor, I think, which is kind of cool. It was great seeing Numenor. I've really hyped up Numenor with my brother when that show started. And he, of course, was like, what the heck is Numenor? Because he doesn't really follow Tolkien like I do. But Numenor, really cool to see. Beautiful setting, a lot of money spent on that. Really, a whole lot of money spent on the show, period. But Numenor looked great, I thought. As for the Harfoots, this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I really don't give a shit about the Harfoots. Like, every time the Harfoots come on, I lose interest. I look at my phone. I don't care. I wish they were off the show. But, yeah, it's 10 o'clock right now. I still got to pack some. I got to check in for my flight tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and take off. Be sure to like and subscribe. Like I said, I hope I can keep doing these going forward. I'm headed to the Outer Banks on Sunday. Hence why I wore the shirt, Kerala, which is where we're going in the Outer Banks. And I'm watching this shitty-ass show, Outer Banks, right now on Netflix. It's so bad, but I can't stop watching at the same time. Gets me in the right frame of mind for going to the Outer Banks. So anyway, like and subscribe. Hopefully I can do some podcasting at the beach. And hopefully James will be able to join me. So, see ya.